Hello, everyone. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio Network, which is a subsidiary of Global Media Network, LLC. Our mantra at Passionate World Talk Radio is educate, enlighten, and entertain. The views of the guest may not represent those of the host or the station. Folks, I just love what I do, and I have a phenomenal guest on today. Actually, it's a return visit. My guest today is the wonderful, inspiring Margaret A. Harrell, who is author and writer of 18 books. Margaret was on back in the end of September, and she talked about her book, which is right in front of me, Keep This Quiet Too, which was More Adventures with Hunter S. Thompson, Milton Clancy, and Jan Menasart. I'm probably not saying that name right. And I just love to have Margaret back on, and she kindly said yes. And we're going to talk today about her light body work. Margaret is one of the few light body teachers who has been permitted to teach the most advanced light body course. She has a LuminEsscence light body. She is a LuminEsscence light body teacher, and I'll get it out. And we're going to talk about what happened as a result of Margaret being on the show. And we're going to talk about what Margaret's doing now and what is going to be coming up in Margaret's near future. So I want to welcome again Margaret A. Harrell to Chatting with Betsy. Welcome, Margaret.
Thank you so much. Listening to you, I too am curious about what the speaker, who happens to be me, will say to all that you just described. I mean, it's a wonderful introduction, and I'm curious myself.
Thank you so much. I have to tell the audience, folks, I interview many people, many people. And Margaret, to me, you stand out for some reason. We just click, and I just feel inspired by you. So I'm so grateful to be talking to you again. I just think you're like a spitfire. You know, you just had so much energy, and you kind of remind me of me in a way.
Oh, well, so we're looking at a mirror. Both of us, we're looking at a mirror. But I'm listening to you. I'm curious what track we're going to go down today. And if you want to know, just live being real, like you like to be and I like to be, right now I'm looking at the computer screen at my website, margaretharrell.com. And what I see is you mentioned Keep This Quiet Too. Well, what I see on my screen at the top of my website is just published, Beyond 3D, Keep This Quiet 3, revised edition. And it's got the most incredible cover by a real artist, Grant Goodwine, so imaginative. And so I was thinking, gee, I should have sent you a copy of that so you would know where I am right now. And I'm just about to do it in audio in June, myself, in Louisville, Kentucky, in the studio. But I don't have any copies. They're too new. They're being produced. So I will send you a copy. It's on my mind now.
Well, thank you. I was just going to say you could send me a copy, Margaret, and you are more than welcome to come on again, and we could talk about your book.
That would be, I simply want to know what you think about it, because I will tell you the way I wrote this. So I have like an advisor named Ron Whitehead, who's so decisive, and I found that if I send him a manuscript, he will tell me he'll often write a blurb, but he will advise me if it's ready for publication, and he will shoot energy into it, like the way we're working in energy now. And so he really, really, really liked this book. And the first draft I sent to him was small, and I'll work backwards, but it is interesting. I began writing this book because I was thinking, where am I going to put my Hunter Thompson letters, the letters to me from Hunter Thompson? Who am I going to leave them to? And I said, so somebody contacted me, and he said, well, I want these letters when you get ready to sell them and leave them. I'm giving them to a library, but I need something unpublished. Libraries want to attract research scholars. So in spite of the value of the letters, and as a collection especially, every library would want them, but they want something unpublished too. I said, well, I don't have that. And he said, you must have something unpublished. And I said, well, I have drafts of letters I wrote to Hunter around 1991, 2, 3, 4, and most of them I didn't mail. And they were, I was having spiritual initiations, and if you can imagine, I was writing him about them. And then most of the time, because I thought he related, and most of the time, I was just making drafts, and they didn't satisfy me to mail. So anyway, I kept them all. I kept practically everything. And he said, oh, no, you should publish them. And so can you imagine publishing drafts that you wrote that you felt were too private and too personal and too way out there to ever show anyone? So he challenged me, and I said the only way I could do this, now being like a real grown-up, a mature in spirituality, knowing that what I receive is not just for me, the only way I could release it would be to set up a context, put it so that the reader would not be just receiving a consciousness with absolutely zero preparation. So I started this little book, real tiny. And when I sent it to Ron, he said, no, go big, put everything into it. And that's how Beyond 3D came about, because he perceived that it demanded the context to be even wider. Then I said, okay, and I felt free, and I wrote what I wanted to write as if it were like my last will and testament, to say what I think about my life on Earth and this life on Earth. If you take it beyond the 3D into, you could anywhere you want to take it. You could take it in dreams, in visions, in synchronicities, in philosophy. So that's why I absolutely love this book. And now it's a book, although I haven't seen it myself.
That sounds fascinating. You know, before I met you, Margaret, and before I read your book, I never heard of Hunter S. Thompson. Believe it or not, I never heard of him until I started to look him up and research him and realized how popular he was, I believe, back in the 60s and 70s. And 80s, and I had interviewed someone who was, I can't think of his name. His name just went right out of my head. He had interviewed someone in the music. He's in the music industry, and he knew Hunter S. Thompson, and he was going to write a book about mamas and papas, and I don't know if he was going to cover Hunter S. Thompson or not, but he knew. He knew him and or knew of him, and I just think that it's fascinating, which is another reason why I love doing what I do, because I get to talk to wonderful people, but I get to learn, and I learn from every guest. And
because you're open to learning. But with Hunter, what was attractive about him was he believed in your philosophy of being real, meaning being authentic, and so he had the boldness to just march into reality, taking his opportunities, living a life that was very flawed, but letting people see the flaws. And so for people who get tired of being told what to think and it being, fluffed up, and they want to find out for themselves. Well, they see him like a precursor. They're in every century, but like for that time and period, a precursor who said, who took on tremendous energy. And they also realized that a lot of us are in disguise, and Beyond 3D recognizes that we're in disguise in 3D reality, in that we're much more than this, and we can choose to live a piece of ourselves, because to live our whole self would be just overpowering. So we're living a piece of ourselves, and maybe another piece of himself might be very pure and I don't know what. But he's in this reality as Hunter Thompson, and they see a true person, a real person, who gives them, just hanging on to his energy and making it their own. They see, okay, so I can be me. It doesn't matter who I am. Don't hurt people. Don't go out hurting people. But other than that, discover who you are. And sometimes you discover it by just simply being it, out in action.
Yes, yes. And you know what else, Margaret? I just thought of this. And I was thinking about this a lot with my own life. But, you know, a lot of times in life we ask, we'll come to a situation and we say, well, why is this happening? And why me? And there's a bigger picture. And I got to thinking, well, what about if your life turned inside out to bring you to where you're supposed to be, and you're helping other people? And that's what happened in my life. My husband was diagnosed with Alzheimer's young and caregiving. But if it wasn't for Matt's journey, I wouldn't be doing Chatting with Betsy. I wouldn't have started a support group.
And people look at your courage. If you know, down here in your life, everyday life, were told you could choose to use that pathway to this point, you would probably say no. I definitely want Matt here instead, and somebody else can teach that lesson. But somehow, in somewhere, you wound up being the one who accepted this role, and you're doing it so beautifully. So that's because you can. You are doing it, and like you say, you're helping loads of people, and that was the way to this. Not that, like I'm saying, you would, and people look at you, and they are inspired, and not that you would have chosen to inspire them this way, but it is a happening. You're in a happening, and there you are, and then you know you choose to react in an inspirational way rather than a totally different way.
Yes, and I learned from every guest, and it took me a long time, Margaret, and I just want to tell the audience, it took me a long time, like in my 60s, to flip my story, to flip my beliefs that, yeah, I can use my voice to help other people. And I have to share this. A memory on Facebook came up just today is Monday, Saturday or Sunday it came up that I'm in my car. So I did videos of my car long before it was popular. And I said, this is in 2017, I said, somehow, I'm going to tell that story to the world. And in 2018, I met Jeannie White, who's a station manager at Pastoral Talk Radio, and she discovered me. Now, I didn't know how I was going to get that story out, and I couldn't have planned it. I mean, this is just something I could not have planned. So when the stars, if you want to look at it that way, line up, things that are meant to happen are going to happen.
But
that's how I feel now.
But first you showed you were open to it. You went deep into your own energy and your own heart, and you said, this I have to do. And it was the only thing that you could see that would turn, the sadness into something different, totally different, and would give something back to people. And so, as I hear it, you created the attraction because you were willing. Because if the opportunity came to you and you didn't know how to do it because you weren't willing, it wouldn't work. So you took the first step, is all I'm saying. And that's the perfect way to make something that you want and you have no idea how to make it happen, but make it happen. You take the first step by really your heart wants it and you're open to it. And then you let it happen. I do that. That's probably how we came together. And then you mentioned that something very unexpected, happened after our first interview. So would you like me to tell it now, or you tell it?
Yes. Oh, no, please. Folks, you have to listen to this, because this literally blows my mind. It made me feel so good, because, you never know who's listening. And sometimes I wonder, is anyone out there listening to me? Am I making a difference? And when Margaret sent me this email, I was just so deeply humbled and so full of gratitude. So go ahead, Margaret, tell the story, because it's your story to tell. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, somebody in Vienna, Austria saw your hashtag Hunter Thompson, evidently, and he was curious about this program. I imagine he hadn't listened to it before, although he may have listened to it many times since. I don't know. And a funny thing is really a very funny story, because not only was he a huge Hunter Thompson fan, and he listened to this program, which was advertised as being something about him interviewing me, but he happens to be secretly a prince. I didn't tell you that. But with a historic Viennese Austrian name, their royalty no longer has titles as of about 1921 or something, but they still carry it. And he doesn't use it. He doesn't want to use it. But being descended from bold knights who, in centuries back, bold knights who went out and won wars for the king, they got titles. And this energy carries on now that we've established that energy is important. So the energy carries on, and his boldness, he contacted me, and he wrote this incredibly bold, enthusiastic email to me. It was so enthusiastic, I wondered if he was, somebody putting me on. And so I showed it to the man I mentioned, Ron Whitehead, and he said, well, we'll test him. Let's do a Zoom with him together. So right there I have support, and we'll test. And so this guy Johannes came on, and we felt he was authentic. And we found a common ground that he wanted to do a lot of things in the U.S., including promote his book. But what we wanted was to do an international Gonzofest, which we didn't know we wanted before meeting him, which came about because of your program. And so we decided together, the three of us, okay, we will put on this international Gonzofest. And Ron, in a way, came out of retirement on this, because he had made 10 Louisville Gonzofests as the chairman, and he had said, no more, I retire. And yet he came back out to do the first international Gonzofest, which would take place in Vienna. Well, as things progressed, we shifted it to Dublin and to somebody more familiar with organizing an international Gonzofest. And we got an Irish component, Rory Patrick Feehan came in, and it's going to take place in September. We have a beautiful lineup, guests, September probably, and what they don't know, this is a secret. And I don't think they'll listen to this program. These particular organizers. It's my birthday.
Oh.
So it's really funny. They're giving me a birthday present, the universe. It's really funny. And nobody knows it. So anyway, I will be going to Dublin for the first time ever, drawn there to be an organizer and on a panel of marvelous people in the first International Gonzofest. How about that?
Wow,
and that came about through your program with hop skipping on pebbles.
Wow. The first International Gonzofest in Dublin. Wow, that I feel like tears coming to my eyes, Margaret. It just re-energizes me. And just fills my heart with joy that this happened because of my show. I say, I'm just little me here in New Jersey trying to help the world become a better place by having a wonderful guest on. Yes.
You're an influencer.
Never thought, I don't think of myself in that way. I just think of myself as, I'm a host, I'm a mom, and I just run a support group. And you never know the influence that people have on other people. And we don't know how far our ripples travel.
No, and we think will be the last Thursday, Friday, Saturday in September, and it will not just be literature. It will be scholarly panels, but they are exciting ones. Very lively. They have to be on Hunter. The panels on Hunter and Gonzo. There will be music. There will be art exhibits of Gonzo art brought from the U.S. J.D. Watson, who did Freak Power, The Ballad or the Bomb, a marvelous documentary about Hunter, where he ran for an office in over in Colorado, and he was for the ballad rather than the bomb. It's very interesting, lots of documentary footage. There will be art, film, music, and literary, including scholarly, the whole gamut of people who care about being real, being authentic, and finding their voice. So anyway, that's one way. There are so many ways to contribute, but that is one way. It doesn't have to be really straight-faced, serious way to contribute. Humor is marvelous, and some of the panelists I picked for bringing in humor, if they knew Hunter and they had humor, because he talked about the death of fun. He was all for humor. So that was a phrase of his, the death of fun, in one of his stories. He was moaning about the things you couldn't do anymore because it wouldn't be considered that you did it in fun.
That we need to have humor, and that's getting to where people are trying to regulate what what's funny, what can be said, what can't be said. But I'll tell you that humor, and I do have a dark sense of humor, twisted sense, that helped me get through caregiving. You have to have it. You have to have that sense of humor, or I think people just sometimes get meltdowns and breakdowns because they don't have any humor in their life.
Because it's the ego. The humor takes you out of yourself where the ego. See, I was talking to someone today. I edit books, and she got overwhelmed, she said, and then she sent me back a version of her book that was filled with overwhelmed energy, and I said, you can't do this to me. If you're overwhelmed and write in that kind of mood, that tone, and start putting in things that don't belong and taking out things that do belong, then you send it to me, and there's nothing I can do whatsoever, because I'm not going to walk in and try to deal with the overwhelm. The energy goes into where you put it. And so I'm going to use your phrase you just gave me. Did I answer the question?
Yes, you did. Well, how do people attend this Gonzofest?
Oh, yeah. Well, see, right now, probably we have a planning meet every every other Sunday. And so we hope that this Sunday we'll have the venues nailed down. It's kind of complicated because you have to get to the really people you want to get to, and like one guy was in Africa. So hopefully Rory and Marty, these Irish guys, will have the venue nailed down. They're going to be multiple little venues by Sunday, so that we can do the next steps. Like we don't have wait for announcements is the best answer. We haven't announced it in a way that you can buy tickets, but you will have to buy a ticket. It'll be reasonably priced. It won't be crazy. It won't be like a Taylor Swift concert.
So will that be on your website, Margaret?
Yes,
absolutely.
In August?
Okay.
That's a good thing to recommend. Go to my website, but not yet. And I will definitely post how to buy a ticket, a link.
Okay, but people should go on your website to find out about your wonderful light body courses to help them in their life.
I cannot say enough about light body work. I started in 1990 when I lived in Belgium, and the first course was announced in Belgium. And I took the very first course that existed, I guess, certainly in Belgium, maybe all of Europe, although they originated in California, now Oregon. I cannot say enough about them, honest to goodness, because they work in energy. And so when you feel that there's no way out, or when you feel I don't know what to do next, that's on the ground level, and it's true. Your mind can't comprehend and work out details that are just too complex and connections that you can never find because they are winding in secret, and they use energy paths that you could never find. So the light body work gives you the tools that you make alignments. And alignments, basically your ego surrenders because it realizes, oh, wait, there's another way to do this where things come to me. I don't have to go wreck my brain and feel overwhelmed and say, how can I find the solution, or how can I find something I want to do or an opportunity? You align. You set up the alignment. You make an opening in yourself the way you did, and then let things come to you, things that are looking for a way to be expressed. And then if you have the tools, if you set up the request and you have the tools to answer that request in yourself, you basically kind of wait for the energy. It's not like some kind of secret or method. The energy naturally works in attractions. The energy goes out and connects with things it's alike and things that are the universe energy is effective, or we wouldn't still be alive. The life force knows how to get things done. So and that's what light body gave me the skills. I think I had the awareness somewhere in me, but I basically didn't have the surrender yet because I didn't know anything to surrender to. And it gave me all those skills, and it feeds my writing. And that's why I've written 18, now 19 books. It gives me the more I can take, the more energy that becomes light, the more it will give me. Because the energy is flowing, and if it starts saying, hey, here's a cascade, let's cascade in, the energy starts cascading. And I say, wait, whoa, And I love it. I absolutely love it. But I will say one thing. Our two founders now have both passed on very recently. In fact, Dwayne this past year. So that changes everything about the structure, but not the teaching.
And you went to, I don't know if I could pronounce the name of this, a school in the Jung Institute, Kuschnack,
yes,
in Switzerland.
Yes, that was where I found that the world was full of intuitive people. I hadn't known it. I'm very intuitive. But the Jung Institute in Zurich attracts intuitives.
I think, yeah, that's what makes you fascinating, Margaret. And like I'm learning things about myself, and you're never too old to learn, folks, because I was always very highly sensitive as a child, and back then it was looked as a negative attribute instead of a positive one. And then I come into my late 50s, and I find out I'm an empath. And this is why I have the intuitions that I have. This is why I have the dreams that I have. It's just, and it's hard to explain, but my son, he's so funny. He says to me, Mom, you know everything. Whatever you predicted, that's coming true.
Yeah,
I said, well, not everything
you can relate. You can relate as an empath. The thing that goes wrong with a lot of people is if they're empaths, they get lost and drowned in someone else's issues, and therefore if you're an empath, you need skills not to do this. You have to know how to respect boundaries. But the way you're describing it, being an empath, is that you're able to enter a situation and identify with it, or with the people, or with the situation empathetically, so you can experience it as if it were you, and therefore you know everything. I agree.
I said, Josh, I don't know everything, but it's just weird. And then I've had dreams where they've actually become true. And it's so weird. Like one dream I had was like a year before I moved in with my mother-in-law. I had a dream of moving and having an argument with my mother-in-law, and that actually happened. And it's mind-blowing.
Well, it is. But what I see happening there, several things, but one is it's like when you decided, I want to get Matt's story out. In the dream, you are working in the energy, and you're priming yourself to accept to do this. If in the dream you're working it out, working through it. So in the dream, it's two things. One is the possibility to get your reaction, but the other thing is it's jumping through time, and it's planting a scene that may or may not come true. But by being planted there in your mind and in your dream, it's increasing the likelihood, the probability that it will come true, and what will your reaction be. So it's kind of preparing you, and it's almost like you went out into the future to see what are my options regarding this question, and you liked this one, so you dreamed it, and that made it, because you dreamed it, where it was an option before, it was more likely now. And a very funny thing is circular, because it was already a likely possibility because your dream was going to make it so. It's very circular, all that. But, quantum scientists say that time is linear down here in what we call 3D, but beyond 3D, it's not linear. So you could do that. That, it's mind-blowing, and good for you for seeing that it was an opportunity trying to come to you, and you took it.
It is mind-blowing. I know people might think I'm a little woo-woo, but that's okay. But I've gotten signs from Matt, and no one's going to tell me they were not from him, because they were. And last week, I was talking to Matt. I talk to Matt all the time. And I said, I wonder if you could see me, Matt, if you know what's going on. And would you believe, Margaret, I saw a tiny white feather in front of my oven. Now, how did that get there?
You saw tiny white what in front of your oven?
Feather.
Feather, F-E-A-T-H-E-R?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You saw, was it vibrating, like in pulsing?
Oh, no, I picked it up.
Like?
It was a little white feather. Like a tiny...
you mean you saw a real feather? You didn't.
A real feather, yes. Yeah.
In front of your oven, and you say, how did it get there?
Yeah.
That's very funny, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, and I wasn't wearing anything that has feathers in it. And I said, okay, Matt, I guess you can see me. That's your sign. And they say if you see white feathers, that's...
wait, we're talking about Matt. So you were thinking of him,
mm-hmm.
and this feather appeared that couldn't get there because you don't have any creature with a feather in your house. And somehow it materialized is the right word.
Yes.
And, okay. So some people would say it came into 3D out of, 4D, where... Matt materialized it. Tell him to do some more stuff for you. That's a good idea.
And I looked at it, and I picked it up, and I said, wow, that's cool. I couldn't couldn't believe it. I was like, where did this come from? And I had read, and I've heard other people say that when you see white feathers, that it's a sign that your loved one is sending you a message, or that they're nearby. And I just had a lot of signs from that people might think, oh, Betsy, you're a little cuckoo, you're hallucinating, but I know what I saw, especially when I could pick something up and feel it, like the little feather. But I've gotten other signs. And does your light body work, does it teach how to get in touch with people on the other side?
Yes. People who are into light body work feel the energy, but they did that before. I always felt in the last few years, I always felt, please keep giving me opportunities. Please keep energizing me. And I will say one thing. There's so many things to say, but when they used to do the seminars the last couple of years, I said it. I felt the energy coming in straight into my hands to do my writing. So my last few books, I did an incredible number of books, like 5 in 2 years, but deep, profound books, drawing on papers I had put away 25 years ago as too complicated for me to deal with. But the light body, they were in light energy. I knew that, but it, I thought, I can't explain any of this stuff like your feather, and I'll just put it into storage. Well, so I took it all out and started doing it, and I felt the energy. I felt that the energy I had written it in years ago was compatible with, or identical with, or whatever, a continuation of the energy that I was feeling in the light body seminars called Luminous Body. So anyway, after Dwayne passed, and I said, okay, there'll be no more light body seminars in which I can do this writing. Is that it? Am I finished? But the funny thing happened was, we started making groups in which we held the energy. And I no longer felt the energy coming into me during the groups and the meditations on Dwayne's and Jabin's prior journeys that they had given us, but like the next day or all through the week or whatever, I would feel the energy. So now it's like present with me. If it wants to talk right now, it will. It's no longer dependent on which is the best way. It's no longer dependent on me sitting during a meditation seminar. It's just there. Not every day, because if I don't get much sleep and I have to do work on editing books, it's not going to feel it's appropriate. But if I'm sitting doing my own writing, you can just feel it. It comes in, and it doesn't write the same way. It's more, I'm totally carefree about what I say. I say, oh, I'm saying this. Okay, I'll say it. It's a different tone, and it has a lot of humor. So anyway, that's just one way, but other people they don't feel it in writing. They have other ways. They definitely feel that the work is being guided, but from a different place.
That's interesting. I'm finding as I'm getting older, more aware of my own energy versus someone else's. But just looking at a picture of somebody, and I can just tell things about them. Even those who have passed away, I could tell, looking at their picture, what kind of person they were, which was mind-blowing to me. Yeah.
It's mind-blowing, but I understand it in that the picture is taking you, like, there could be many things. Maybe there's vibrations in the picture, or maybe the picture lets you pick up the vibrations, but the spirit still lives, or you are picking. There's so many ways you could explain it, but I would just say cultivate these gifts you have. You have gifts, and they're probably coming out more and more. The more you use them, and the more that we're in this particular time period where it's so incredible. A lot of people say that we're lifting veils and we're punching through them and we're opening up for the earth incredible opportunities. But at the same time and transparencies, truth coming out. But at the same time we're sunk down into non-truths. I mean, it's quite a crazy time period. So use your gifts as your gifts intensify.
Yes, I believe everyone should use their gifts that they were given. Margaret, as our time wraps up, and you are such a joy to talk with, I could talk to you for hours, where can people get in touch with you, connect with you about your light body work?
On my website, they will see at the very bottom of the website, I have like about 3 or 4 posts on the light body work, and they can contact me to have a class. Often I say this is very specialized work, and often I say if you want to just try it out, come and have a free trial Zoom lesson with me privately, or if you want to jump into a course, and on any level, if you have the preparatory Awakening Your Light Body course, you can jump to higher, even luminous body courses, or if you want to do Awakening Your Light Body itself, call me. We can start immediately, privately. I'm doing that on Thursday, starting someone privately. And I kind of mentor them. And they come to me not just for the light body, but if they're in a difficult place in their life and they want this beautiful energy because they can't do it on their own. Their ego says, no, I give up. And they know there's another way. So they just come to me, and the light body work guides them through it. So my website, yes, MargaretHarrell.com, MargaretHarrell.com.
And your books are on Amazon.com.
All are on Amazon under Margaret A. Harrell, because there's other Margaret Harrells, Margaret A. Harrell. And if you write Keep This Quiet, be sure to put an exclamation point into the search, because you'll get something else otherwise. But there's one book, a beautiful big book, The Hells Angels Letters, The Hells Angels Letters, Hunter S. Thompson, Margaret Harrell, and the Making of an American Classic, where I collected into a coffee table book, 9 inches by 12 inches, all in blazing color with 100 scanned letters from Hunter, but 297 pages, narratives, interviews, a real fascinating storytelling research book. If you want that in print, you must go to the publisher's website. He doesn't like Amazon. So that's NorfolkPress.com, NORFOLK Press.com. And if you forget that, you can go to my website, and there are links to Norfolk Press in some of the posts about the book. It's absolutely fabulous. There's nothing but good reports on it. And it alone has been the subject of panel discussions, full-hour discussions, and so on. It's honestly fabulous. So if that interests you, go to NorfolkPress.com. Or if you want a signed copy, I have copies myself. For print.
Well,
Now, the e-book you can get at Norfolk Press, or you can go on Amazon for that.
Okay, that is great. You'll have to come back on, Margaret. I want to know how the Gonzofest went at the end of September. I want to know about that. And if you're, probably to be the end of this year, maybe early next year. Oh, my goodness, time goes by so fast. Because I would love to read your book and have you on about your book, too, your new book.
I love that. We have an annual appointment, don't we?
Yes, I would love to have you back on. And, of course, I always want you to keep in touch because I have to know how this international, the first international Gonzofest goes. I really, I'll be there in spirit.
You will indeed. You will.
And it just really thrills me, and to know that the guy that contacted you is from Austria. My great-grandparents were from the Austria-Hungary Empire. So
oh, my goodness. See,
that's a connection. Yeah, that's a connection right there.
That's amazing, too, when you think about it.
Yes, it is. And I was like, I'm so thrilled. I tell everyone that story because it just thrills me and inspires me. Excuse me.
But isn't it something, if they were on the Austrian-Hungarian Empire back there when his family was princes, I mean, that opens the mind to a lot of stories. Maybe they were knights. I don't know, but I love history. It's fabulous to think what the story, if you move it back in time, what could it have been? It's just maybe nothing, but it's still fabulous. It's
It sure is. And I want to thank you again, Margaret, for coming on. Folks, I highly recommend going on Amazon, check out Margaret's book. She has a lot of them. And also going on her website to look at all the different courses you could take, all that Margaret has to offer. And all the information will be in the blog that Jeannie White, your station manager, writes, and Jeannie produces the show. So thank you, Jeannie. And I want to thank Lillian Caldwell, who's CEO of Passionate World Talk Radio, that makes this all possible. And I want to thank you, listeners. Thank you for listening and subscribing. And if you don't already subscribe to Chatting with Betsy, it is for free. I'm on Spotify, Spreaker, Amazon Music, Apple. And please subscribe, share this podcast with your friends. I want to help as many people as possible. I have great resources on, such as Margaret A. Harrell, who does light body work, who can help you. I'm here to help people. We're in this life together. Let's do what we can to make it a better life, to have a better quality of life. And I just want to thank everyone. And you can follow me on Facebook, Betsy E. Wurzel, Wurzel. And if you're looking for a support group, if you're a caregiver, I have hashtag Kick Alzheimer's Ass Movement on Facebook. And as I always say at the end of my show, in a world where you can be anything, please be kind and shine your light bright, because we need it now more than ever. And that's how I feel. So until we chat again, be safe, shine your light, be kind. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio Network, which is a subsidiary of Global Media Network, LLC. Be safe, everyone. Chat with you again. Bye-bye now.